18-year-old woman accused of fatally stabbing a teenage girl Sunday night.
Hold up, sis!
Hey, get off my sister, bro! Get off my sister! Hey, if you touch my sister again, I'm gonna have to put my phone down, bro.
I hope that her killer gets the maximum sentence. I hope you understand who Halia was. She was an absolutely beautiful Mr. Everyday. She was my alarm in the morning.
The victim sadly was the aggressor. Defendant stepped away, went outside. The victim allegedly followed her.
We need justice for our granddaughter. I talked to my granddaughter. She can't talk back to me.
Hi guys, welcome back to KW Lawholic. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. If you're not, thank you for always returning. Let's jump right into the case. Today's case is about 17-year-old Halia L. Culbertson. She was born on May 9, 2005 to her parents, Sean and Haley Culbertson. She was from Sunbury, Ohio, and her family says that she was a loving and very beautiful girl. Her family said that she was always willing to protect and be there for the ones that she loved. Starting with the day of the crime, it happened on March 26, 2023. It was in the northeastern community of Columbus, Ohio, on the 5600 block of Emporium Square. Now, this square had a couple of stores around. The stores on this square where the incident occurred was the 616 Carryout, a convenience store, and a tobacco shop. An argument had started inside of the tobacco shop with Halia and her ex-best friend, Brianna Brazzoni, and a couple other individuals. Brianna had walked into the smoke shop, and unbeknownst to her, Halia was already in there. According to court filings, an argument had started inside of the store and eventually transpired outside after Halia was removed from the store from an employee that worked there. And while she was removed, she did stay at the exit to wait for Brianna to get out. During that argument, it eventually did turn physical. On video footage recovered, you can even hear in the video one of Halia's brothers saying to beat her up and end it.
Hold up, sis!
Hey, get off my sister, bro! Get off my sister! Hey, if you touch my sister again, I'm gonna have to put my phone down, bro. Halia, crunch her to get it over with, bro. Crunch her, get it over with, Halia.
From that, Halia did strike Brianna in the face, and after that, in response, Brianna pulled out a knife and swung it one time in Halia's direction. That action of swinging the knife did hit Halia in the neck and chest region. Despite getting stabbed, Halia did continue to beat on Brianna until the fight ended. And after the fight ended, Brianna did leave the scene and go home. This was all according to standby witnesses' testimonies and surveillance footage that caught the whole thing in act. Halia was rushed to a hospital that was nearby, which was the Ohio Health Riverside Medical Center. But sadly, she did succumb to her lone injury of a stab wound at 12:24 a.m. Brianna was later found at her Columbus home in the suburb of Westerville. It was found out through investigation that Halia and Brianna used to be best friends, but it had a falling out over something. They did have Brianna in custody, and she was held at first on a $750,000 bond. She was released because she made bond, but she had to only be released with conditions. Two of her conditions was one, that she would not go anywhere near or step foot in any areas near the Culbertson family. And the second was that she couldn't be around or have any weapon of any kind. The prosecutors had initially charged Brianna with murder in the first degree. They later dropped that charge in favor of a manslaughter charge in early June of 2024. Brianna did end up pleading guilty to an involuntary manslaughter count and charge. Brianna's attorney, Robert Krapman, said that if it was taken to trial, Brianna's position and stance would have been to argue self-defense because Halia did attack her first. Later on Thursday, July 11, 2024, there was a sentencing filed memo that explained everything of what happened that day. And this is when we can really get into the story of how this even happened in the first place. How our two ex-best friends arguing and fighting to the point where one of them dies. In the sentencing memo filed by Brianna's attorney, Robert Krapman, he shows on video that was recorded by a bystander who witnessed the entire incident fight from the beginning. And in that video, you can see that Brianna is seen backing away from Halia multiple times. She's taken at least 30 steps away from her while saying on video that she doesn't want to fight. she doesn't wish to fight. One of the people who was with Brianna even tried to intervene in the fight and break it up and tell them to just stop, but the person that was with Halia said to back away and get away from them. That person they know is to be one of Halia's brothers. Brianna's attorney also wrote in the memo filed that after she even pulled out the knife, she still took several steps, which they counted to be 15, away from Halia, saying how she doesn't want to fight. The knife that Brianna even pulled out was one that she had with her all the time, so it was always on her person because she used it for work daily. It wasn't like she brung this knife with her to be intentional or be dangerous. Halia had begun the argument inside of the store, witnesses and surveillance footage says. Even after she was removed from the store, she stayed at the exit for about 15 minutes to wait for Brianna to exit. Attorney Crapton says this, and I quote, "She confronted Brianna, threatening her, pushing her, and finally striking her. Although Brianna repeatedly backed away and says she did not wish to fight Miss Culbertson, she continued in her aggressive actions." If we move over to the prosecution side, we can hear from the district attorney. The assistant Franklin County prosecutor, Trent Grobb, said that clearly the two women had bad blood. And he mentioned that it was very reasonable for Brianna to be upset over Halia's actions of hitting her, beating her up, and threatening her. They even admitted that the video was very scary. But they said that it was very unjustifiable to pull out a weapon when Halia was only using her hands. The prosecutor said, and I quote, "It was a disproportionate response to a slap, not self-defense." Basically meaning she didn't have to bring out a weapon if the violence that was presented was only with Halia's bare hands. The prosecutors had admitted in June that yes, Brianna did swing a knife and it did hit Halia in her clavicle area of her neck. But all in all, throughout the case being presented, it shows that Halia is being painted as the aggressor in this incident, in this fight.
Because while you have a good case of the victim was the aggressor and you were defending yourself, it could go either way. And from the facts I read, from the limited facts that I read, the victim sadly was the aggressor. This defendant stepped away, went outside. The victim allegedly followed her and then slapped her. So then she pulled out a knife.
From this, Brianna Brazzoni was filed to have up to 3 years in prison for the nature of an involuntary manslaughter charge. And during the sentencing, I quote from the report, Franklin County Judge Mark Serendo rendered his decision, where he sentenced Brianna Brazzoni to 3 years in prison on Thursday, July 11th, 2024, for the fatal stabbing of 17-year-old Halia Culbertson. The judge also stated that Brianna will have the opportunity to apply for early release and that he will monitor and consider the options at an appropriate time to see if that's even possible for her. Halia's family did speak before the sentencing, and I want to share some of the things that they said. Starting off first and most positive, her family said that they will forever remember her beautiful smile, her eyes, and her personality. On the same day as the sentencing, her family has said this about Brianna Brazzoni. They said that she was a villain who deserves more than what she could receive as part of a plea deal. Her sister Kaylin said this, "Nothing has scarred me so badly as losing Halia. When I was with my sister, I didn't need anything else. How can someone be so cruel? How can someone be so vicious? Someone who was supposed to be my sister's best friend killed her and left her to bleed out." Her grandmother had even spoke and said this. She shared about the messages her and Halia would have and how she would always pray for her granddaughter. She said in one of her prayers, she asked and questioned, is this teen's life only worth 3 years as a maximum sentence? Is that all her granddaughter's life was worth? She also said this inside of the court. Is it any wonder criminals believe they can get away with murder because they can? At the sentencing, Brianna did get to speak briefly for a moment, and what she said was this. She said how she understood how much pain and harm she caused, and she ended it off with saying that she will be living and carrying this guilt for the rest of her life. Personally, for me, I feel like this whole entire situation is just a sad one. My questions for this is that for them to even present her with a plea argument, a plea deal, they had to have assessed all valuable holes in this case to see if they had anything really concrete. The DA's office will look up and down a case to see if there's anything that can be a crack. And for them to present her with an involuntary manslaughter case and then actually take the charge from her defense team and count it, that means they found some holes. They knew that if they took this to trial, it could have went either way, or it could have really showed the jury, hey, Halia was the aggressor and this was truly self-defense. So what did they do? They took that opportunity to at least give some type of justice and retribution to be a form of rehabilitation for the criminal acts of violence. So yes, did Brianna bring a knife to a fist fight? she did. But everyone has the right to defend themselves in ways that they see fit. Prosecutors, defense teams, and people who just seen the video said that it was very scary and it was very threatening. And maybe that wasn't her goal to kill her best friend. I feel so terrible for Halia's mother and father, for her siblings. A piece of their family that completed them is now gone. So I know that they probably don't agree with the sentencing, but I hope that they are able to find justice and some peace with this so that it can get easier as the days go on. So thank you guys for hearing this case. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one at KW Lawholic.